a constant struggle for those of us that work at the municipal level. We have so much information that it relates to personal information, what we call PII, that we're constantly struggling to find solutions to better enable our organizations to prevent cyber attacks. I would say that it is not only critical for us, but ever changing. The threats change, the actors change constantly. So it is an ongoing challenge for us. So I wanted to also thank the presenters this morning. It's amazing what you can learn in 15 minutes. The presenters were excellent this morning. We see solutions and we see opportunities to collaborate more. The panel discussion this morning is around exploring opportunities for collaborative approaches to cybersecurity. I say government can't do it alone. It always takes public-private partnerships. We can't afford it. So if we build a cyber team that could prevent all of the cyber threats that we have, you wouldn't be happy as a taxpayer. So we get the most qualified and we find ways to partner and collaborate and learn about nascent technologies so that we can continue to protect assets. I have an esteemed panel this morning. I will introduce each individual and ask you to tell a little bit about your background, and then I'll have a series of questions that I'd like to ask. So I have Natalia Martin. She's the acting director of NIST, National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. Jamie Brown, Senior Director, Global Government Affairs, Tenable, Inc. Robert Bruce, President and CEO, MedTech Ingenuity Group, spelled wrong. Sorry, Ingenuity Group. And Pete Saronis, founder and CEO of Dots and Bridges, LLC. So would you please start let's start with Jamie, just a little background.
Sure, no, thank you very much. Certainly an honor to be here today back at the NCCoE and to, just see how many folks are here. This is such a great collaborative environment and what the NCCoE does so well in terms of convening folks and pulling people together to work on discrete cybersecurity challenges. It really does sort of exemplify that team approach. So I work with Tenable. Tenable is a proud Maryland-based cybersecurity company based in Howard County, but we have a lot of folks who come from Montgomery County, certainly. And our focus is on vulnerability management. The Deputy Secretary earlier mentioned a couple of things that I think are key to what we're doing here today. First, cyber as a team sport, and then secondly, the importance of focusing on practical cybersecurity solutions. And if you think about it, I think the NCCoE is really the body whereby you pull together different folks, because there is not a single solution that helps solve every cybersecurity challenge. So that pulls together the part of the team sport, and it also focuses on practical applications to address discrete cybersecurity challenges. We're not necessarily looking at inventing new technology here, but rather leveraging existing technologies that previously haven't been integrated together and can do so here. So it really does, it really hits both that team sport aspect and then the practical aspect. So again, really important to be here and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Natalia Martin.
Good morning, almost good afternoon. I would like to join my colleague to welcome every one of you here, as well as those who are watching us live stream. Thank you for your time. It's very important time investment. And I would like to talk about a little bit of history of NIST and Information Technology Lab and NCCoE in the state of Maryland. So interestingly enough, this time of the year turns out to be a very important time of the year as I looked at the history and at the dates. So on March 3rd, 1901, March 3rd, today is March 6th, right? So about 122 years ago, National Bureau of Standards, or NBS, was founded by the Congress in Washington, D.C. So not exactly in Maryland, but close enough. And it followed by 1961, so I didn't calculate, 4 years ago, right? The ground was broken for NBS in Gaithersburg, Maryland. That's where the NIST main campus is. And then about 11 years ago, in February 21st, 2012, so as I mentioned, something happens in the March-February timeframe. An applied cybersecurity lab for NIST had been established, and it was essentially named National Cybersecurity Center of Excellency, and it was established in a partnership, guess what, with the state of Maryland and Montgomery County, Maryland. So it's really important timeline. It's important for us to be here. Our history is really here in Maryland, and we are very excited to be a part of the reestablishment of this partnership and being a part of this history.
Thank you. Robert Bruce.
Thank you, Gail. Hi, my name is Robert Bruce. I'm President and CEO of MedTech Ingenuity Corporation. We are and have been a part of the Maryland Healthcare Commission since early 2011, when our organization was originally created. A little bit about me. My background is electrical engineering, and I spent some time at Penn State with the electrical engineering and Harvard for the health IT. So in combination with those, the ACA, accountable care, if folks are familiar with it, we implemented our business and started our business around that particular initiative. Once we did that, we found ourselves being one of the leading organizations migrating medical providers to electronic health records. I'm an 18-year retired Verizon executive with national experience in 911. I also have a patent in next generation 911 technology that you haven't seen, and that would be dialing 911 over the internet. So MedTech Engineering, Ingenuity Corp is a combination, Gail, of engineering and ingenuity. It's a Maryland-based healthcare business. We are innovatively assisting medical organizations in transitioning from paper records to digital records. MedTech's primary goal is to address healthcare disparities using EHRs while ensuring compliance in HIPAA and cybersecurity regulations. So we're happy to be here. We had some great opportunities with NIST back in 2015-16, and I'm happy to see that we're reconvening to discuss and collaborate on this very important work that needs to be done.
Thank you, Robert. And then Pete Saronis.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm 2 miles down the road, so I'm a MoCo guy through and through. So this was probably the easiest commute for an event I've had in my life. So no, it's great to be here. It's an honor. I was joking. I knew this was an important event, but I thought it was going to be a brainstorming opportunity with Natalia and the team. But it's great to be up here and maybe share some stories. And like my colleagues, look, a lot of what we're going to address here shouldn't be new to anybody. Words like digital transformation, critical infrastructure, smart cities. Dots and Bridges is my 8 years compiled of 25 years in government. I was blessed to work at the United States Department of Energy as the Chief Technology Officer. I traveled to national labs. I got to see the R&D that's baked into bipartisan infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act. When you hear about these incredible treasures in our country, there are 17 of them. There's 16 critical infrastructure sectors. There's 55 national critical functions. Dots and Bridges, which is, by the way, what my wife came up for the company when she asked me what I did for 25 years. And instead of trying to be cool with a cool name, which I like ingenuity, by the way, she's like, what'd you do? I said, hon, I was a dot connecting bridge builder, but I know my tech space. She goes, well, then be Dots and Bridges. People get that. That's what we are. Translation, information, too much of it. How are you consuming it? So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of homework after today. You should at least read the executive summaries of the recently released national cyber strategy. Check out the bipartisan infrastructure law. Go to build.gov. See where our tax dollars are going for our crumbling critical sectors. The CHIPS and Science Act. It's a great opportunity to understand supply chain. Of course, the Inflation Reduction. Executive Order 14028, 14057 hits on what I think was the first cool C word, cybersecurity, many, many moons ago, and now climate change, the crisis. If you understand cyber, but physical systems as well, which is what this wonderful place talks about, the impact of technology, advanced analytics, cloud computing, you name it, the buzzword, zero trust. How do you live in an industrial Internet of Things world with everything connected, not trust anything, but still expect to innovate and protect the very data that is that privacy, as you pointed out, Gail. So hopefully we'll get into some of that. We'll share some stories, but there's a lot to consume. This place is a treasure. Yes. I have been a part of the efforts that Jim McCarthy and others have led as a collaborative partner on securing the industrial Internet of Things. So take some of this material. This is your tax dollar or your tax dollars at work. And I would say it's the coolest offshoot of a wonderful institution in NIST, but it's our incubator. It's our federal incubator. So it's great to be here.
Thank you so much. So we talked earlier about the collaboration. My first question is for Natalia. As we've heard in the remarks today during the signing ceremony, NIST creates opportunities for the public and private sectors to work together to address important cybersecurity and privacy challenges. Can you go into more detail about how the NCCoE helps to facilitate the collaboration, and specifically how smaller companies can either engage in projects of interest or make use of the results of NCCoE's guidance? It would be good to hear about how they can be a part of a project team or a community of interest that guides NCCoE's teams as they develop practical solutions.
Thank you, Gail. That's a good and very important question. So as you already heard, NCCoE is the collaborative hub where industry, and most of us here from industry, right? Government, again, some of us are from government here, and certainly academia come together to solve the toughest cybersecurity questions. And these questions could be questions in a particular industry or questions in a cross-industry domain. We have to say that most of our guidance is geared towards small businesses because we very much understand that it's probably easier to provide guidance for federal government. There is certain parts of enforcement in it. We have to look at the guidance as the part of the federal government. It's much harder to work with the industry where the guidance is really voluntary. So it has to make sense. It's even more harder for small businesses to figure out what is the cost efficient, what do we need to pay attention to. So with every single project that we have, we always ask ourselves a question, what's in it for small businesses? How they can take our guidance and make it implementable and practical? What does it mean for the different types of business owners? And that's why we also look at our guidance, not only from technology point of view, but also from the sector's point of view. Also, you've heard today, Dr. Lacasio mentioned that we certainly looked at our industry partners from the two points of view. Often we looked at them as the technology providers and technology consumers. And often it could be both technology providers and consumers at the same time. So we help technology consumers, companies like many of yours. I've seen lots of registrations and I talked to many of you during the break. So what we do, we our guidance help you to manage cybersecurity risk, essentially by showing how to apply standards and best practices and use commercially available off-the-shelf products to ultimately improve your ability to detect, prevent, and respond to cybersecurity threats and vulnerabilities. And this capability is available today. And ultimately, it improves your resiliency and ability to operate in this cyber-physical world and ultimately solve your business problems. We are not here really to help you just to solve cybersecurity problems. We are here to help you to solve your business problems. And that's a big difference. And for technology providers, for expertise providers like many of my colleagues on this panel, they can become our project's collaborators by contributing their technologies to address particular project's focus. So technology providers ultimately can respond to the Federal Register note by submitting their letters of interest. So ultimately, when we ready to start working on a project, we submit Federal Register notes, and technology providers can respond to it in a way, by the way of the letter of interest. NIST reviews every single letter of interest on a first come, first serve basis. And ultimately, we making sure that we evaluate that to determine technical acceptability based on the requirements of the particular project and project needs. So this is how you can join our projects. However, regardless whether you're a technology consumer or technology provider, or maybe you are just a student and you are learning about cybersecurity, anybody can join discussion on a cybersecurity challenge and provide their expertise as a part of the project or as a part of our preparation to the projects. Usually what we do is when we have an idea, we run a workshop. So ultimately, we gather people just like you in a place just like this, ultimately in NCCoE, and have a very focused discussions in order to make sure that our ideas making sense, in order to get your input into our ideas. So anybody can join our event and be part of this discussion. And ultimately, when we put any publications, our publications are open and transparent. So we always have a period in which public can comment. So again, whether you are just learning about cybersecurity, you're interested in it, or you want us to do something different, you always have opportunity to provide your voice, and your voice will always be heard, and we will always respond to you. And if you are interested in staying informed and being engaged, please sign up for many of our community of interest. Actually, all of you sitting at the table that represent a particular community of interest. And on this table, and pretty much today, you probably all seen these cards, right? So please take advantage of this opportunity. Make sure that you sign up for one to all community of interest. And as you've heard today, we are launching small business community of interest that ultimately for small businesses will help you to aggregate knowledge from all kinds of different domains and deliver this knowledge right in your emails, right in your inbox.
Thank you, Natalia. My second question is for Pete. Since you're a very active contributor to many NIST efforts, tell us a little bit about how your involvement in these various efforts complement or advance your work with Dots and Bridges, and how does it end up helping your clients?
That's awesome. And I didn't know the question was coming, so I'm going to riff a bit. But it truly embodies the spirit of open government principles: transparency, collaboration, participation. As a former executive in the federal government who was called on quite a bit by industry with a silver bullet, quote unquote, or the latest solution that the government, largest purchaser of IT in the world, trying to sell into government, it's more about seeking and solving, not buying and selling. And my ability post-government to be a part of this community, and everybody here, I encourage you, this is how you meet the right people, the influencers, to be involved. It takes a village. To your point, Natalia, what better place to say I get to sit at the table and get to build trust with the federal government, NIST, on standards or regulation or policy. So it's a no-brainer. And if you're in sales or business development or marketing, I mean, this is how you meet the people where the problems are being addressed. And for me, connecting those dots, building those bridges, I'm launching a newsletter, and I just say this, it's just more than my blogging on what's the bits of information in bite-sized chunks that is insightful enough for you to understand how our nation and the 423 thereabout federal agencies, each with a unique mission. Everybody uses mission. Well, the mission of every agency is different, not to mention within each agency. How do you know that your solutions are going to address the problem like what NIST and NCCoE address? Distributed energy, wastewater. I mean, go look at the posters out there. How do you educate and reskill and retain and recruit individuals to come work? Buy, sell is not what it's about. It's about seeking and solving. And my experience, Gail, is nothing short of I've been able to, in some way, shape, or form, in my world, tell clients of mine that this is how it's done. It's not getting a meeting. Get involved, understand the real problem, not what keeps people up at night, but the challenge. We all see what happens in the news. Bridges collapse, cars crash, people die. COVID was a wake-up. Technology is not our problem. Technology meets critical infrastructure. How does it better humanity? So whether it's government, industry, and academia coming together, embracing the spirit of open government, trust me, you're going to hear terms today that I hope you go back and truly try to understand. Cybersecurity is not complicated, but it's broad. Smart cities sounds cool. How do you think a smart city's built? A lot of people have to come together. It takes a village. It's an all-of-government approach. There is no silver bullet solution. And if you're not going to take on the task of being educated, informed, and enlightened, then what are you doing? What's your perspective? Get involved and always be curious. Maintain curiosity. That's what drives me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your words. The next question is for Robert. As CEO of a small business, MedTech Ingenuity Group. First, could you briefly describe what project or projects did you collaborate on? And it's a three-part question. Secondly, why did your company decide to become an NCCoE collaborator? And third, can you describe how your clients benefited from the NCCoE guidance that you helped to produce?
Sure. Thank you, Gail. I appreciate the question. We attended a NIST NCCoE event when we identified, as you said, a problem. Being part of the Maryland Healthcare Commission and deploying electronic health records across the state and then eventually nationally, we identified a very early problem during our deployments and integrations and implementations, however you want to describe it. We identified there was really a push towards implementation, but not security. So we attended a NIST NCCoE event. As Natalia said, we actually had the opportunity to sign up and participate and share that challenge. We were working on securing electronic medical records on mobile devices. So that's the project. Becoming an NCCoE collaborator, which is hard to say, was a value decision for several reasons. the opportunities to contribute and to improve health IT and security, access to NCCoE expertise and processes, procedures, and some of the collaborative efforts that went together with that, partnering with some of the next generation industry leaders such as Symantec, RSA, IBM, who else? Intel. Some of those large players were part of our securing electronic medical records with mobile devices. We actually also worked diligently on developing practical standards and cybersecurity solutions. And that framework really helped us move forward with a lot of the medical industry and the partners that we were working with. So access to resources, including the testing environment. If you all hadn't had an opportunity to walk around, there's way more going on here than just securing electronic medical records on mobile devices. So as they said, if you're sitting at your table, you're here for a reason. If you scan the card, the collaboration was immense. It was intense, and it was fantastic. It really helped us bring solutions to the medical industry that we were working with. Learning opportunities, best practice, and emerging technologies. And we're looking forward to what's next. We talk about AI, we talk about Bitcoin and things of that nature. How do we integrate all of that in this next generation cyber security technology, really moving it? And we want to do that in healthcare as well. Networking, the potential for partnerships. Sitting here talking to Pete and Natalia and Jamie, we've all actually, we've collaborated just sitting at that table in that short amount of time. When the break happened, I was collaborating with a lot of folks in the room. And again, these are valuable resources. Here's the one thing I'll say about this. When we were doing the electronic medical records, and it had started in 2011, our practical response was, there's no security here. There's not enough security standards in place. After collaborating, working with NIST and a lot of the larger organizations, we seriously found that there was a framework that we could create that was standardized. We could share that along all medical practices and all vendors, EHR vendors, which really created that framework that I'm proud to say that we were a part of. We were the only Maryland-based company doing that. And so we're grateful that NIST and NCCoE is here in the Maryland space. Take advantage of it. It was great. To the other part of your question, if I can, you said describe how our clients benefited from NCCoE guidance that we helped to produce. We were able to bring real solutions to the table. So that meant that we could go into medical practices, medical organizations, identify some of the available risk, and guess what? We bring it right here. Once we did that, we built those models, we tested it, and we ensuring compliance with HIPAA with a lot of our providers after we created that framework, improved security throughout medical practices throughout Maryland and the rest of the country, because what we were doing here in Maryland was used throughout the country. So NCCoE and NIST is a national framework. So we were excited to be able to do that. I think it helped us tremendously. It gave us the confidence, and it gave us brand recognition as well, working with NIST and all the other big providers and the vendors throughout that process.
Thank you. Great work, Robert. The next question I have is for Jamie. So we've heard now from 2 Maryland-based small businesses, but the NCCoE also regularly engages with medium and large-sized companies. How has collaborating with the NCCoE on specific projects and through the NCEP program aligned with Tenable's business priorities? Have you been able to put NCCoE solutions to good use?
No, thank you. It's a great question, Gail. And we've been members of the NCEP partnership, the National Cyber Excellence Partnership, for just about 4 years now, and have had the opportunity to engage on a number of different studies and projects, in particular focused around best practices for patching the enterprise, when to address vulnerabilities. Also manufacturing data integrity, a lot of focus on operational technology security in that space. And more recently, engaging on how do you implement zero trust practices across an enterprise or a government agency. So we've found that participating in these projects really helps us show our customers and our clients a comprehensive approach to, again, cybersecurity challenges that they are all facing, either in their particular sectors or from a cross-sector basis. And then rather than us just coming forward with a point solution and saying, Tenable can solve, these discrete, small, specific parts of your greater challenge. The fact that we're able to work with the NCCoE and partner and integrate to create a holistic approach to addressing some of these broader challenges, I think really takes a more customer-centric and client-centric point of view. So, just echoing what my fellow panelists have said, the value that comes from engaging here with other companies and holistically bringing together cybersecurity challenges, that are affecting either industrial sectors or affecting across sectors is really important. And then finally, the last thing I would say is the fact that the practice guides and sort of reference architectures that are built out of NCCoE projects, they are tied to and reference the NIST cybersecurity framework, the framework for improving critical infrastructure cybersecurity. That's really become the lingua franca amongst so many different industrial sectors for the way they approach cybersecurity. So it makes these very accessible.
Thank you very much. So Natalia, I'm going to come back to you. My question is, we've heard from the business community, but tell us a little bit about engaging with the academic community within Maryland and beyond.
Thank you, Gail. I'll be short. So certainly, I want to point out that academic universities and specifically school system of University of Maryland had been very instrumental in working with us. Some of our projects, specifically in the energy area, like for example, solar infrastructure, had been our testing beds. So they were certainly our collaborators. They'll help us to get to the real data, to the real solution. So our guidance would be really practical in a real life. So on one hand, absolutely academic communities are part of our collaboration, but also what's important, we are looking to provide cybersecurity solutions today, but we're also looking at how we can ensure that cybersecurity solution exists tomorrow. And the only way to ensure it is to really make sure that the next generation of cybersecurity experts have a chance to work with us. So here in this particular facility in NCCoE, we have a lot of hands-on opportunity, and I have a number of long examples on our work with the University of Maryland, school systems, Morgan State University, Montgomery College, and other universities where college students, graduates, postgraduates come and join our projects. I think that you might have a chance to meet some of our students during your demo walks. In addition to the college students, we always have high school students that are part of our summer NIST program. And overall, we provide lots of tours and exciting abilities for the K through 12s to join us here and learn about cybersecurity career, learn about STEM, and learn about how to get involved and why to pay attention to cybersecurity.